Hey, we are two Star Wars nerds, and we're talking about another Clone Wars chronological arc. This one's all about Boba Fett. Yeah, that song is terrible. I hate what they did there, but thankfully this has none of that. Got my Boba Fett hat on and everything. So this arc is
So real quick, do you still like Boba Fett?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think our friend Strike says it best, is that's not Boba Fett.
So it's like a Jake Skywalker situation?
Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
Loba Bet?
Loba Bet, yeah. But yeah, this is real Boba Fett here. But this has 3 episodes, 220, 221, 222.
All in order.
Yes, I like the all in order. All in order arcs, there we go. But this one, just jumping right into it, the first episode, Death Trap, is how you should humanize Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. I just feel like we're not going to talk about the show. The show just did it wrong. But this one, he just wants to kill Mace. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to kill innocent clones.
Right.
And you see a struggle, right? But you see like this anger and this sensitivity. So you see he's just like, no, like my dad taught me, get the job done, you know.
It was interesting though that he didn't associate, or he was almost offended when they referred to him as brother. Like he wanted to, he didn't want to kill them, but he's like, I am not like you. So he wanted that distinction.
Yeah. No, yeah. And that was very interesting as well, because Jango wanted an unaltered clone, and it was a father-son relationship. Mm-hmm. It wasn't I'm a clone relationship.
And he wanted to make sure,
I
am not like you guys.
And he was very adamant about that. But yeah, if you don't know, this is a little mini arc about Boba Fett wanting to get revenge on Mace Windu.
From Attack of the Clones.
Yes. And you get a lot of cool things, like you get Orsing and Bosk, kind of revealed at the end of the first episode in the arc, that, there's this infiltration of Boba onto the Republic frigate, if I can speak. And then basically when it crashes and all this stuff, they're trying to find survivors because Boba blows the whole thing up. And then that's where there's Anakin and Mace, and Boba and the bounty hunters trying to find them. And then later you get into this whole thing with Plo Koon and Ahsoka, and Hondo comes into the picture, and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Just all sorts of stuff. I do have some gripes with it that have been resolved in my mind that will come up about, but why don't you share why you love it?
I like this arc a lot because I do like Boba Fett, which is weird because I don't know, I guess in Star Wars though, they do make me like the bad guys because again, it's good storytelling. So it's not just an evil person. You see their hurt, you see their brokenness, and you see why they're behaving that way. And it doesn't excuse it, but it's, I guess, more entertaining to me than just some terrible person who you have no idea why they're terrible. They're just terrible for terrible sake. So I like Boba Fett, and I wouldn't say he's evil at all, especially even here. I think he's broken and hurt because he saw his father being murdered, and he wants to seek vengeance. That's not the way we should respond in such a situation, but I understand why he would want to respond in that way. I just
gotta say, you'd be like a good mom to Boba. It's not how you respond in this situation, Boba. I see you're hurt.
Well, I think too, I see Boba kind of look at Aura Singh as almost like a mother, and I think he wants her to be kind of like a mother figure, and she is a terrible mother figure, and I don't think that's what she's looking for.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't have a dad. His dad was murdered in front of him.
He's being raised by criminals.
Yeah, and then he's looking for, we're all designed to have a father and a mother represent, that love, and now he's trying to find a father and a mother, and I think he's trying to find a mother in Aura Singh, and it just, sadly doesn't work in his time of desperation, in his time of need. She's not really there for him. She's terrible. I mean, it's not her responsibility to be his mom, but I think she kind of just took advantage of him and his anger for her own...
For profit.
For her own profit, yeah.
I mean, she says it.
Yeah. But I love Aura Singh and Hondo together. I love that relationship, and I wish it lasted forever. I think it's glorious.
You ship them?
I ship them. And I also, what I love about this arc is they do refer to Boba Fett's starship as its actual name of Slave One.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pumped about that. And I even was like, did you hear it? They said Slave One, and you didn't hear it at first. You had to rewind it. And then you kept rewinding because you just were so pleased to hear the word Slave One.
Yeah. So a side note on that, it caught me by surprise because I didn't remember that, because when the whole the Lego set put Boba Fett's starship, and the toys, have Boba Fett's starship. And then in the show, they said fire spray, and there's all this talk. And they're like, well, it's never been said, on screen, so it doesn't matter. I'm like...
It's on your platform.
You're wrong. All these people who are defending it, saying it's never been said on screen, it has been.
Yeah.
Many times in this arc, by the way.
Yeah.
They say it over and over. And they say Slave One. And I just don't want to rant and rave about it, but I'm like... Stop pandering.
You can tell our opinion.
It's just such a stupid thing. And that's where it's like, just let it be Slave One. People are way too sensitive. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, we could go off on a whole other tangent, but we won't.
So dumb.
And there's a lot more I can say.
They said Slave One.
They said Slave One. And I also really like, in the third episode of this arc, I like Plo and Ahsoka together, just because of their past, and he's the one who, found her and brought her in. So it's just cool to see Ahsoka. I love her being Anakin's Padawan, but I love seeing her interact with other masters and be able to learn from them. And I just like Plo Koon and Ahsoka's relationship, because I think it's very special, and it's tender, and she's not going to have that connection with anyone else. So I love seeing that. But yeah, overall, I liked seeing Boba. I liked Slave One. I like Hondo and Aura Singh. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. I know that you did point out a couple gripes, and I'm sure you'll talk to them, and they do make me, I'm trying to explain them in my mind. They don't ruin completely the arc for me. I was entertained. It's action packed, and it kept my attention, but I'm with you. I'm a little confused. And I like this, like I've been saying even in the previous videos, I like the big story overall. So I have a hard time. It kind of takes me out of the story when things don't line up with other parts of the story, if that makes sense. Yes, it's called a continuity error, and they bother me very much so. You have your arms crossed and everything. I do have my arms crossed. You rarely are like that. It bothers me. So continuity errors bother me in editing, just because I'm like, oh, hey, you missed this little detail. But where continuity... Forgive our cat if you hear our cat right now. He's upset with as well. He's groaning about that. About it. So here's the issue. You see two errors. The first episode, for me, stellar, 10 out of 10 episode. I love it. Maybe it's not a 10 out of 10 for everybody in this arc. It is for me. The second episode, you have Jango's helmet blown up. And you're like, okay. Which, cool sign. Cool, cool way to make sure Mace knows what's going on. But it doesn't. Then in the third episode, you have Ahsoka cut off one of the wings of Slave One, and then you see it crash, and a massive explosion happens that comes over the mountain ridge on the horizon. So you're okay, so Slave One freaking blew up, and Jango's helmet blew up. But with Slave One blowing up, we know Aura Singh is still alive. So yeah. So something happened there. because they're both.
And I'm gonna talk about the resolves for me, but the reason I more so had issues is I'm starting to look it up, right? And I'm going, different things are going through my mind. Because you see Hondo with Slave One for a little bit. In open seasons that Jango has the Jaster Muriel's armor, which is like the one that is probably passed down to Boba, that color scheme and everything. And so it's like the Attack of the Clones armor that was blown up was probably his second set of armor in this episode. But my issue with it is there is an interview with Dave Filoni, and Dave Filoni's asked about it, point blank asked about it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, what's up with Jango's helmet being blown up? What's up with Slave One not only having its wing cut off, but exploding? Mm-hmm. And he doesn't answer. He's like, well, if it's good for George, it's good for me, basically. And then
it's a very political answer.
Yeah, and then he goes off on this tangent for like 5 minutes and totally like walks you away from the issue at hand. And for me, I'm like, that was more the issue, is that it was more so like, this would be cool. Mm-hmm. The poetry of him using the helmet, as a bomb to kill Mace. That'd be cool. And I'm like, man, Slave One blows up, and then it's like, obviously, like, well, Boba needs armor, and there happens to be a comic that covers for it. They've never said that it was that, and then Slave One gets fixed, obviously, which I don't have an issue necessarily with that, but those are my gripes, is it doesn't seem like it was really thought out. It was just cool, and then it happened. Because I was pretty upset at first. I was like,
yes,
I was like, this is so stupid.
I was like, it's gonna be okay.
So it's not breaking to continuity and canon, but I think it was an error.
I think
that has some retcons that happened before and after it.
I think we're just in a tender spot because we've been hurt.
Stop messing with Boba. Even though it's years old. It's probably like a decade old at this point.
But how many times have we watched this and that's never been an issue for us?
I don't know. A lot.
Exactly. So I think it's because it's rubbing on something that has already...
I don't want you to talk away my pain. But...
let's move on.
But nonetheless, let me know in the comments, do you agree with me or do you agree with the misses? To me, it was kind of a big issue, but we will see. Just moving forward, how I feel when we revisit these other arcs and such. But let's just get down to rating as we close this, because really for me, I'll start with my rating. It started as a 10 out of 10 and it went down. I'll be fair, I'll still give this an 8 out of 10, this arc. Those two things that happen in each episode kind of bothered me, more so that they aren't fully explained later on, Yeah. And it is, but there's some really awesome scenes that are super cool. But, for me, 8 out of 10, I think this is overall still, even with my gripes, I think it's a great arc.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm at 8 out of 10 too.
Awesome. Well, with that, as always, let us know your thoughts and opinions about the Boba arc down in the comments below, and may the Force be with you always.